Well, I just made the whole freaking video without my audio on, so this is my second take. Make sure to watch. I recorded the whole thing and I'm starting over. So this is really important stuff if you're an investor. Andrei Jikh just made a video on how he quit dividend investing. He is an incredibly talented YouTuber. He's done dividend investing for years, and dividend investing has a cult-like following. So I'll probably get a little bit of backlash and maybe some defensiveness from this video, but hey, that's why I'm anonymous. It's so I can share what I think is just super important and truly important without worrying about any backlash. So there are some serious misconceptions in the community, and misconceptions on YouTube, misconceptions on forums of what dividend investing is, and if there really is even any point in picking a dividend stock. So I want to dive into why Andrei Jikh quit and some aspects that he didn't discuss and some really important things for you to decide if dividend investing is right for you. In this video, we'll be looking at real world examples, and by the end of it, we're going to answer if dividend investing even makes any sense at all. So here is my dividend investing portfolio, around $40,000 of income that I'm expected to earn in 2021 just from my dividends. So this is from a stock of $3 million worth of value, but most of that is not in dividend stocks. So if I really wanted to go heavy into dividend stocks, I could be at like $200,000 of income paid out to me from those dividend stocks. But I'm going to explain to you why I'm not doing that. And it's really important for you to understand how these things actually turn out. So click the like button for the algorithm, and this way we can get this important information into more people's screens. And let's get started. I'd really appreciate it. So what the heck is a dividend stock? Well, it's a stock that's usually a large cap stock, and it'll pay you an amount usually every quarter just for being a stockholder. So you're just a stockholder and you get paid an amount. You get paid a dividend for every share that you hold. So the way to kind of think about this is that each dividend represents a portion of the company's earnings. Okay, so a dividend payment depends on the amount of shares you have and the dividend yield, the amount you're getting of those shares in terms of the dividend. So for example, let's say you have shares of a company and the stock is at $100 per share. If the dividend yield, which is an important metric that you're going to see a lot, is 1%, then you get $1 per share in dividends for the year. Okay, so the dividend yield is for the year. So that will be 25 cents per quarter because these dividends are usually paid out per quarter. So if you owned 100 shares, then you'd receive a $100 dividend payment per year. Now, something important to understand about this dividend yield is because it's an annual dividend per share divided by the share of the stock price, and that gives you a percentage, it's actually going to fluctuate with the price of the stock. So if the stock crashes 50%, it might look like, boom, the yield is 2 times as good, but it's really just a factor of the actual stock price. Now, the idea of a dividend is to get a yield distributed to you, like income. So a lot of people think of this as so-called safe, blue chip, high quality, large cap stocks that have regular payouts to you and allow you to generate money throughout the year. And that's really cool. It's a cool idea, at least emotionally, for me to be like, oh, cool, I got 40K that I don't got to worry about. That sounds great. But even the benefits have pitfalls of this. So let's kind of talk about that. Dividend stocks tend to fall less during market crashes. So that's true. Dividend stocks are kind of held up by the fact that they pay out dividends. And so during market crashes, people actually sometimes flock to dividend stocks, or at least they don't sell their dividend stocks because they have some income coming. Now, the downside of this is that dividends aren't guaranteed, okay? So dividends can be lowered, dividends can be skipped. Now, companies try not to do that, and that way they have a reputation, because a lot of the dividend game is just to build a reputation so it attracts and lures investors. So these things can be skipped though. And we've seen examples of this from this past COVID experience. Now, the second thing that are benefits, let's say, is that this creates a regular source of income. Now, the downside of this is that, sure, you're getting paid an amount, like I'm going to get paid around $40K for the year. The downside of this is I got to pay taxes on that. So I have to pay taxes on that income. And this income, by the way, whenever I set up a payment or any dividends, what I always do is I make sure dividends get reinvested into that stock. That's what I automatically do. That's why in my portfolio, you're actually going to see that I own like weird amounts of stuff. Like I own 855.3711 shares of Apple. And that's because I reinvest that dividend. The downside, though, is I actually have to pay tax. I got to pay tax on that $39,000. I can't just wait. I have to pay it for the year that I earned it. Whereas my Tesla stock, where I just keep the money in there and it doesn't pay me a dividend, I don't have to pay taxes until I actually take it out. I would have had to pay an extra hundreds of thousands in taxes if that's what I was earning through Tesla's dividend instead of just the appreciation of the company. So this brings us to some issues. Now, one of the biggest issues people have is a lot of people think this money right here, this $39,998.85 is extra money. That's not true. It's not a bonus that I'm getting paid, all right? Otherwise, think about it. All you would have to do is you'd have to buy, see, this is the dividend here. You'd have to buy the day before the dividend would get distributed to the shareholders. That's all you'd have to do is buy at the end of March for quarter one, and then you get that dividend. Buy at the end of June, and then you get that dividend. Buy at the end of September, and you get that dividend. So these are all the different quarters. I could do that and make $9.8 thousand every single quarter just by buying in at that time. And then I can maybe keep my money in Tesla or something else during the other times. Here's the thing. The way dividends work is they're taking the amount per share off of the share price right after the dividend. So basically, the price will go down by the amount that it's distributed to you. So it's not extra money. Basically, what it is it's forcing you to sell a small percent of your stock. That's all it's doing. So you're not coming up with this bonus 9.8K a month. It's going to come out of the stock price. Now, here's the other really important thing. Who the heck cares about making $40,000 in income if you, say, bought this company and you lost half of your portfolio over time? That would not be cool. That would not be fun. So going from $80 per share to, say, $40 per share, and you have earning a distribution of, say, 5% per year, a yield, who cares if your actual portfolio has been cut by a ton? So even though this has a dividend yield of 6%, this is not a good investment. This would not have been a good investment to buy in 2018 or 2015 even, and have decreased by 20% in 5 years, where those 5 years, the dividend yield may be added 30%, but who cares, right? Because that's lower than the overall stock market. That would not have been a good buy. Now, the thing with dividend investing, and I think a lot of people, the reason why they get a bit confused about dividend investing, at least this is why I got confused, is because of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's out there buying Bank of America, buying Coca-Cola, buying Verizon, buying American Express. And why is he buying all these dividend stocks? It's not because they're dividend stocks. This is the issue. He's buying stocks because they have high value, they have high profits, and these companies tend to be the same companies that give dividends. So this is different than growth companies, companies like Tesla or Amazon that do not give dividends. And what this could mean when you think about dividend companies is you think of them as being safe, as being healthy, but that's not always the case. So let's go ahead and look at some of these balance sheets. Here's Bank of America, a big Warren Buffett holding. Now, it has a yield of 1.8%, and here are here's some of the data in terms of its profitability. So the yellow is the net income, the actual profits. The green is revenue, not as important for value companies, but the profits are what value companies are propped on and consistently profitable. So if we take the 2020, $17.89 billion in profits. All right, how about Coca-Cola? We go down here and for 2020, $7 billion in profits. Okay, haven't had a year under zero. Now, if we compare that and take out Verizon here, consistent profits, okay? So these are dividend stocks that Buffett has, but it's not because they're dividend stocks. It's because they are good value companies. When you look at Tesla, for example, here's Tesla's chart here. Net income, negative $1.9 billion for 2017. And the reason isn't because they're a bad company and they're struggling. The reason Tesla has negative cash flow or had negative cash flow, now they're positive, is because they're heavily investing for the future. They're taking on debt because they know that it's better to take on that debt and pay that interest on that debt and to be able to use that to fuel future growth, to create economies of scale, to further innovation, to create infrastructure. You can think of this as, say, Tesla, like realizing, hey, we got to start building some factories. We got to put chargers all over the world. Let's just do it now. I don't care if that brings us into the negative. We're growing so fast, we need to take on all the debt we can to grow. So that doesn't mean it's a bad company. In fact, that maybe means it's a good company if you understand the actual company metrics. Here's Amazon. Yellow, by the way, is just so small because the revenue is so big with $380 billion in revenue. So you can see, though, even this little yellow is healthy, but before 2015, they were actually not profitable. Why was Amazon not profitable? It was on purpose because they're growing so fast that they want to just invest all of it in the future rather than trying to take out profits now. So that is actually a big mistake of thinking about dividend stocks as healthier, better companies. It might actually be a reason to bribe companies to buy the stock. Here's AT&T. AT&T has a really attractive 6.8% dividend yield. Man, if I had 6.8% and I just put my $3 million portfolio, if I just took this $3 million portfolio, instead of putting $3 million and mostly not in dividend stocks, if I take that 3.3 million and I just put it in AT&T, I'd be expected to have $224,440 per year in income. That sounds great. I could chill, I could travel the world, I could be retired for good as an ultimate never-ending, infinite money glitch where I keep making this amount of money. Here's the thing that matters, though, guys. What matters is what actually happens to the price of the stock. Does it appreciate or depreciate? 5 years, it was at $40 per share, and now it's at $30 per share. So it's lost 25%. So if I lost 25% on that 3.3 million, I would have been down $825,000. So that kind of does not make sense, right? To have a really amazing dividend, but I'm losing money and it's depreciating. And overall, I would do much better if I just bought the S&P 500. So also realize that dividends might be available because there's not a lot of future growth, that there's not a lot that the company believes they can invest in the future, and maybe they're just trying to lure in investors by keeping up this dividend payout. So dividends on their own do not make sense to me as an investment decision. I don't think that they make sense if you look at the empirical data. I do not think that they make sense in any way except for emotionally allowing you to feel like, oh, I got $200,000 coming this year. But if you look at your portfolio, it'll be down like $800,000 in the last 5 years if you just bought AT&T. So dividends on their own, to me, do not make sense. If you want a smarter guy to explain it to you, check out Ben Felix. You can type in Ben Felix dividend. He's a CFP. He talks about the irrelevance of dividends. So I hope that clarifies some things up. I'd love to have you on as a subscriber as we grow this channel together. Thank you all for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.